Hey, before we jump in, we've got a question for you. Are you ready to put an end to self-sabotage so you can finally feel good enough? Listen, we know what it means to not feel confident, relaxed, and worthy. It means you're probably the one with the foot on the brakes in your own life or business. And if you want to live up to your fullest potential, which we know you do, and if you want to make this your happiest and best year, then you need to update your mindset. It doesn't have to be hard, but you do need to take the leap of faith to get it started. So what I want you to do is sign up for our free masterclass, How to End Perfectionism and Elevate Your Life. Whether you're feeling completely overwhelmed or you're tired of beating yourself up, we'll show you the step-by-step strategies that will turn you into a confident badass. Reserve your spot right now before you forget by going to theelevatedlifeclub.com/masterclass. That's theelevatedlifeclub.com/masterclass. Don't let another moment go by that you don't feel confident in your own skin so that it's easier to create a life you're in love with. All right, let's dive in. Can you believe we are already halfway through 2021? I cannot believe it. This year feels like it is flying. So we decided this podcast episode would be all about our 5 steps that we do every 3, 6, 9, 12 months of the year so that you can get a game plan on what's working, what isn't, and what you can do to move yourself forward so that you can stay on track with your goals. This episode is perfect for you during Mercury Retrograde if you're ready to revamp your lifestyle. Hey, we're Britt and Chris Carmichael, and you're listening to the Elevated Life Podcast. Throughout the 13 years we've been together, we've never ceased in our endless quest to better ourselves.
We've studied top experts, philosophers, and gurus. After years of personal self-experimentation, we found the tools for shifting your beliefs, moving through fears, and developing a positive mindset.
If you're ready for a breakthrough, then you're in the right place because we're here to empower you to take control of your life with simple mindset shifts that create radical transformation.
We'll be diving into topics like personal growth, health, philosophy, spirituality, relationships, success, and mindfulness.
So create some space for yourself and get comfy. It's time to become the badass you were born to be. Woo woo! We've made it. We are 6 months through the year and we are in full-blown Mercury Retrograde review mode over here at the Carmichael household. We have literally been going through every single area of our life, from our clothes in our closet to the way that we show up and produce this podcast. Now is a time for total review, and we're going to share our 5 tips on how you can implement this in your life or business.
You know, I think this is probably these times where we do this. It's one of my favorite things, and it's one of the things that I like the least at the same time. And that's because self-evaluation and figuring out where you are, it's not that it's tough, but it's always kind of a kick in the stomach a little bit. Because no matter how far we've gone, we always grow for more. We know we always reach for more. I think being human probably has us on that. No matter how big the dream is, what if we just want to get just a little bit more than that? And so we always do this. And so you always realize when you review, I'm not there. Because I think we underestimate how much we can get done in a short period of time. And so I always get to this spot and I think, well, I definitely thought I was going to do these several things, but I did these several things instead. And sometimes they're better, but I have an interesting relationship with doing this. I love it because what ends up happening is that the whole next few months changes. And I think that a lot of times we forgot where we wanted to go because we got off doing something different. And coming back and realizing what is important and reevaluating and saying, okay, these things aren't important to me. I thought these would be high value tasks and they're not. Are these relationships maybe, or the specific part of our business we really enjoy doing, but it's not really panning out. It's looking at all of those and really putting a magnifying glass to it and saying, no. Or it's going, hell yes, because we definitely had some hell yeses this year. We definitely had some things for us that we didn't have last year that has made this year much different. And I think that being able to figure out what that's going to be for you, what are those big needle movers, will just make you feel so much better. Because when you're constantly running that track, when you know that you're on course to goal and when you're always correcting again and again, you get there. You know that at least you're going toward the right thing. Otherwise, you just kind of end up wandering around going, how come it didn't happen for me? I love this process. the thing that you have to remember doing this is that if you messed up a little bit, it's okay. And if you messed up a lot of it, that's okay too. Always just jump right back where you need to be. The more time that you spend not doing the things you need to do, the longer it takes you to get where you want to go.
And you know you're on the verge of a breakthrough or a level up when you're kind of getting antsy with the way that your life is operating, your daily routine. You're kind of like, oh, this isn't working for me anymore. I don't like it. Chris and I were having a little fit last week, like, oh gosh, we don't want to skip our workout in the morning and we need to be more diligent about this. And we're just kind of like this and that, and these things need to change. And we both looked at each other and we're like, okay, it's time to update the rules. And you might have heard us call it that before, but we call it updating the rules when we're ready to do this review and figure out what's working, what isn't, and what do we want to do more of. And so it was kind of clear to us last week when we both looked at each other and were like, listen, what we've been doing has got us to where we're at, but it's not going to get us to those next level goals.
You know what it reminds me of? So we took on house plants recently. I mean, within the last year or two, we really upped our house plant game. And we killed a lot of plants during that time. You overwater, you underwater, you do something. But the thing that we've been learning recently, and the thing that's really been helping, is that there comes a point in the plant's life where it has to be repotted. Basically, it outgrows the conditions that it's currently in. And so we missed this for a while, right? And so there are several plants that went away because we didn't know we need to get it a bigger...
They went away.
Yeah.
Where'd they go with Waldo?
Maybe. And what's crazy about it is that you're like, wait, I'm just going to get the pot to be a little bit bigger, and then everything is going to be great, and they're going to double in size, and they're going to look amazing now. So we come to a space where there's a level of frustration, where you get upset about what you're doing, and you get upset about the process, and that is that moment that you always know that you need to change it. You need to cut back and say, okay, starting from ground zero, what is going on?
All right, who's ready for change? Let's dive into the first step that you can do, and that is to review your progress. Look back to the goals that you set for yourself at the beginning of the year. When it was New Year's 2021, you were so excited. January 1st, you came up with all these ideas and goals that you were going to go after. Take a moment to review what were those goals and what's the progress? Have you committed to them? Have you been procrastinating? Have you, surpassed them and made more goals than you even thought you would? Now's a good time to review. And there's going to be so many different answers. There's going to be, yes, I crushed all my goals and then some. No, I didn't because life hit the fan and I had to deal with other things. Or yes, I'm right on track, but I could maybe step it up a little bit. Yeah.
And when you get to that space, you really want to be saying, okay, so what's going to be my next step? And that's always going to be number 2, which is eliminate what's not working. Those things that you find in your life that you've dedicated time and energy and effort toward that aren't giving back the exact same way that you thought they would be, it's time to cut back on all of those. You have to look hard inside of everything and not be upset by the fact that there are so many times that something has a place in our life, and there are other times where that's not what we want to be doing anymore, where we say, you know what, I've outgrown that, or I want to do this a lot, but I can't right now because I really want to put my focus on this other thing. And that's always going to be from the answers that you got in reviewing your progress. If your health has taken a toll back, now it's time to say, well, I've been spending my time doing my business maybe. Now I'm going to bump up my health a little bit. I'm going to start focusing on me. That way, when I show up even better. And so you have to figure out what things that you have been slacking on.
Oh, cut the fat. It's, again, going back to the gardening, it's like cutting back the dead leaves and, really trimming it up so that the good stuff can flourish. So this really is about focusing on what is working so that you can eliminate what isn't, so that you're not wasting your time in things that aren't, there's no ROI on it, whether it's energetic or financial. Now, the third step that you can do is to celebrate what is working. This is really about celebrating every single step that you've taken. One of the lessons I teach in Shine School in the manifesting module is all about celebrating the small wins. Whether you've achieved your goal or you've just taken steps to get closer to it, it's so important for you to celebrate that progress so that you have that confidence to keep that momentum going after your goal.
The other thing I really like to do here is to celebrate people in my life and also celebrate myself. Sometimes that might just be a big hug, or I may go give myself the thing that I want to eat. Or
I was literally just picturing like an ice cream sundae, like,
oh my gosh, yes.
like treating yourself.
But also celebrating the people who got you to where you are. If there's someone who's been helping you on your goals, if there's someone you've really been connecting with, even if it's online, reach out to them and tell them. People love hearing like, hey, I just want to let you know I'm your friend. What's up? And just do that for a second and watch how much it pays you back. The celebrating part we forget because a lot of times we cast the line out too far. And so a lot of times we're only happy once we hit that goal. And so the idea here is to not only celebrate what you're doing, what's been going on, what's going good, but the other people too, because if we miss that, then we miss all those connections. And then even when we get the goal, it's not as fulfilling because nobody came on the journey with us, or we didn't recognize that they were there. And having that recognition a lot of times allows people to really want to help you with your goals. So sometimes the effort that you're unable to put in by yourself, when you let them know, like, I appreciate when you do this. There's so much value in you. I just want to let you know that I care about you. I hear what you're saying. They end up showing up 10 times more. And you think, oh my gosh, there's no way I could have gotten this done by myself. And you're right, you couldn't have. But with their help, you can. And with your appreciation, they are always almost willing to do more.
Speaking of appreciation, just want to pause and say thank you so much for tuning in to the Elevated Life podcast. We absolutely love serving you and sharing our wisdom on helping you elevate every area of your life. So if you've been listening, whether this is your first time or if you've been listening for over a year since we started it, we appreciate you and all the love and support you show, especially when you leave us those 5-star reviews.
All right, the next step you want to take in reviewing these last few months is to brain dump all of your ideas. This is so important on where your goals are going to be because a lot of times we get so many ideas up in our head and they're just kind of bobbling back and forth. And what you want to do is immediately get them down onto paper. For one, it unburdens your mind and you can write it out and put it into a plan. Britt always loves this statistic. I'm going to let her share it with you.
Oh, you're 42% more likely to achieve the goals that you write down. And whether it's true or not, it still is encouraging to know that when you get it out of your head, you actually clear up space for your intuition and imagination to do even more like visionary work, to bring you new ideas and that clarity on what are the next steps that I need to take on my goal. So when your brain isn't bogged down with all these just different ideas and tasks, it just gives you the space to get creative and really have clarity on what that next creative project or next step is along that path for you. So brain dumping for me is one of those, I do it every morning, honestly. I brain dump everything that is going on, how I'm feeling, my ideas, the things that I want to get done for the day. This is, for me, is a daily action, but when we're talking about the 6-month review, brain dumping is a really good way to kind of figure out like, see where your progress is, see what is working, see what isn't, and then from there, write down the new ideas that have come up along the way because of the progress that you've made towards the other goals that you set.
And quick tip on this, for brain dumping, what I like to do is spend several minutes where you'll write, because there'll be things that are on the top of your mind, you'll write that down and boom, 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 you'll write a bunch of stuff and you'll come to a stopping point where the ideas run out a little bit. What most people do wrong is they get up in that moment. And so they end the exercise. What you want to do instead is stay there for a couple of minutes where nothing's happening, where you're not getting ideas. You're like,
eyes closed.
Yeah, where your idea, what's going on in your head is like, this is stupid. I don't want to do this exercise anymore. When that happens, wait until that passes. Wait until that moment. If it takes 10 more minutes, do it. I'm telling you, do it. All your ideas come right at the end of all that brain dump. And so what you'll find there is what you've been focused on too much. Because when you brain dump, what are those first few things? Like, you've been focused on this a lot, but what's that thing that comes up when the kind of the dust settles from the whole brain dump and you're left with nothing? What's that thing that comes up right at the end? A lot of times for me, that's something that I need to be doing, but that I haven't been thinking about doing. And so it's one of the first things that I begin to implement in the next 6-month journey.
Oh, and the last step on your review process is to map it out. Now that you've brain dumped all of your ideas, you've eliminated what isn't working, you are excited about what is working and the new ideas that you have, this is where you want to set a new goal for yourself. Not operating with the same plan that you created 6 months ago, because not only are you a different person, but also times have changed, technology's come out, there's new apps that need to be updated, so we have to update everything, the way that we approach it and how how we're doing it. So this is a really good time for you to start mapping it out and focusing on one project at a time. The way that I like to come up with my action step plans is to come up with a list of what are my top 3 goals that I'm working on, and then beneath each one of those goals, I write out the next 5 steps that I need to do to accomplish that goal. That way I always have a running doc of the next 15 steps that I can take to progress myself towards my goals. That way I never use that excuse of procrastination of like, I don't know what to do next. It's all written down, and I give myself accurate and adequate time, adequate time to realistically plug it into my calendar. This is where I see a lot of people falling short on really owning their schedule and being able to go after their goals by a deadline in a certain period of time. So once you figured out what you want to do, you need to bring it into your calendar and set deadlines and break it down into small actionable steps that can be done and managed in your free time. We have to be realistic. We've got children, pets, partners, all the things, self-care that we have to balance. And so when we really get a clear look at our calendar, it might be that you only have 20 minutes a day to commit to that extra project, or 2 hours a day, or only on Fridays. So you need to get really clear on where is the time that you can plug in these action steps that you want to take to achieve those goals.
It sounds so simple, and when you say it, it seems so obvious too, that like this is how it would work, this is how it would be the best way to sort of break down what you want to accomplish and make it so that it actually happens. But we forget to do this. I feel like this is not something that we all just sit down and do. It's not always really natural to do this, especially for yourself and having the awareness. And so mapping it out really helps you. It does eliminate your ability to teeter-totter. Two of the other things actually I like to do with this method is I like to write down who do I need to get a hold of that's going to help me with this? And then also, what is it that I need to learn that would help me more? And that way I'm doing that kind of in the background, or I have my brain thinking about this. One of the things that happens when you write down on a piece of paper is that your brain is engaged. It's seeing what you want. And if you're like Britt and you write down the 3 big things that you're working on, I like to circle them on that brain dump paper. Circle it so that your mind knows this is what's important. And don't just use the same pen. Use a highlighter. Use something red.
Make it pretty.
Show your brain this. Think about this while I'm sleeping. Think about this while, give me insight about this. Hit me up with that great idea while I'm in the shower. I'm always trying to get my brain to do as much work as physically possible, because I want it to help me out. I know there's a reservoir of information in our heads that we all have. We've all read too much. We've seen too many movies. We've talked too many. We watched so many YouTube. We all have so much information, and if our brain could just let us access it at all times, things would be so much easier. So I try to get that help for myself, with anything that I do. And so show it what's important. The reason why we do these exercises is to clear the mind out, to tell it the things that we want to value, to say, this is what the next part of our life is going to look like. This is who we're going to need to show up as. So we're going to focus on these big things so that these other ideas happen in our lives, and so we can bring it to fruition. And getting your mind to do that will offload so much of it to you, because you'll wake up in the morning and you'll have the title for that book, or you'll know just intuitively, oh my gosh, I've got to make this phone call, or you'll be more aware of what am I doing to myself that's stopping me from really doing these things. And when you have that awareness, you say, oh, I can fix it. These 2 things I can fix. This is not that hard. I can do it.
So like Chris said in the beginning, he loves and hates this process because it does create that awareness of what isn't working, but it also gives you permission to change. And that is empowering. So we hope that you enjoyed these 5 tips on reviewing the next 6 months of the past 6 months of this year, and then really setting yourself up for success for the last 6 months. This is such an easy, simple, fun process, but it does take time. So be sure to set time aside on that calendar, like we talked about. If it ain't scheduled, it ain't happening. So set time aside on your calendar to do this review, and then really start plugging in all the action steps that you want to take. And we want to support you on that goal. So shoot us a DM, leave us a comment, let us know, what goal are you working on? What's that number 1 thing that you're most excited about tackling in the last half of the year? Let us know, shoot us a message. We love to support you on your way to achieving your dreams.
Yeah, so we'll catch you in the next episode. Until then,
Peace.
Peace.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Elevated Life Podcast. Want more? Join us at theelevatedlifeclub.com for mindset upgrades, lifestyle hacks, and spiritual tools to elevate your soul.
Each month features a new masterclass, meditation, yoga practice, and more to help you transform your life one step at a time.
Come join the 7 or Above Club.